Japan's sweeping intelligence reforms. Japan has recently begun the most expansive reform of its intelligence infrastructure since 1945. Despite being aimed at improving national security, the government will need to be deft in its handling of public opinion. Japanese Prime Minister Takaichi Sani stands in front of a lectern and microphones, facing to the right of the frame. Japan is undertaking the most sweeping reforms of its national intelligence architecture since the end of the Second World War. These reforms were proposed as part of a coalition agreement between the ruling Liberal Democratic Party (LDP) and its junior partner, the Japan Innovation Party (iiss), in October 2025. The context for this alignment was the parties' shared concerns about the rising threats to Japan due to the sharp deterioration in the country's external environment. The strong mandate won by Prime Minister Takaichi Sani in the February 2026 general election gave further impetus to the reforms. Broadly, these are designed to coordinate and integrate Japan's intelligence community as well as develop broader Japanese intelligence capabilities. 3 stages of implementation. The reforms will be implemented in 3 stages over the course of 2026 and 2027. The first stage came at the end of July with key institutional changes, the launch of the National Intelligence Council (NIC) and the National Intelligence Bureau (NIB). Enabling legislation for these changes was passed by the Diet Parliament in late May this year. In the upper house of the Diet, where the LDP-iiss coalition does not have a majority, the legislation passed with the support of several opposition parties, an important development given the political sensitivities around intelligence reform in Japan. The NIC is designed to function as the control tower Shirato for Japan's intelligence operations and sits alongside and ranks equally with the National Security Council (NSC). Mirroring the NSC, which was set up in 2013 by then Prime Minister Abe Shinzo and is an important forum for the government to deliberate and direct security strategy, the NIC is intended to facilitate the discussion and formulation of intelligence strategy. Like the NSC, the NIC is chaired by the Prime Minister and sits in the Cabinet Secretariat Kantei. While the NSC allowed the Kantei control over foreign and security policy for the first time since the end of the Second World War, the NIC now gives the government the ability to decide intelligence issues and strategy for the first time in the post-war period. The NIB, meanwhile, replaces the former Cabinet Intelligence and Research Office (CIRO), and unlike CIRO, which operated by consensus building and functioned largely as an aggregator of information, has statutory authority Sogo Chosuken to consolidate intelligence gleaned by Japan's multiple and fragmented existing intelligence agencies. These include the Ministry of Foreign Affairs Intelligence and Analysis Service, the National Police Agency's NPA Security Bureau, the Ministry of Justice's Public Security Intelligence Agency, and the Ministry of Defense's Defense Intelligence Headquarters. The NIB ranks equally alongside the NSC's National Security Secretariat (NSS), which functions as the NSC's coordinating body, and similarly functions as a coordinator for the NIC. Flowchart showing Japan's new intelligence architecture, from the Cabinet Secretariat, to the National Intelligence and Security Councils to other agencies. The second stage of Japan's intelligence reforms is likely to come in 2027 with the enactment of a package of so-called anti-espionage laws. These are expected to include a Foreign Interference Prevention Act (Geikoku Kansho Bashiho) and a Foreign Agent Registration Act (Geikoku Daranin Torakuho). Due to Japan's pre-war and wartime domestic political persecution, post-war demilitarization, and lingering public antipathy towards intelligence activities, the country lacks a legal framework for criminalizing spying or the leaking of state secrets. Although Abe's administration enacted the Act on the Protection of Specially Designated Secrets in 2013, this only applies to information that has been designated as secret by the government. As such, Japan is increasingly vulnerable to covert activity and influence operations from hostile parties, concerns about which have only increased as relations with China and Russia have deteriorated and North Korea's belligerency in the region has grown. This also overlaps with Japan's increasing focus on economic security, particularly in areas such as the protection of critical infrastructure and advanced technology. The third stage of reforms will also come in 2027 with the creation of a foreign intelligence service. Again, reflecting the United States' broader post-war push to demilitarize Japan and domestic political opposition, Japan does not have a specialized foreign intelligence agency with a covert human intelligence HUMINT capability. This has resulted in Japan having weak HUMINT capabilities and having to solicit intelligence in a non-covert way from, for example, its large global diplomatic and economic footprint. This lack has also put Japan at a disadvantage against increasingly hostile players such as China and Russia, which both possess such capabilities, and when deepening cooperation with its U.S. ally and partners such as the United Kingdom and France, which also boast well-developed HUMINT strengths. The challenges. While historic in the Japanese context, the above reforms will face challenges. One is the deeply embedded stovepiping in the bureaucracy, which creates interagency competition and prevents effective information sharing. The NSS, which, like the NIB, has statutory power to request relevant information, has had some success in easing this sectionalism. The new structure is designed to allow the NIB to direct Japan's intelligence agencies according to the demands of the NIC, allowing a flow of information downwards as well as enhancing the existing upwards flow. This, however, does not directly address the problem of a lack of horizontal information flow between intelligence gathering agencies of the same rank. The fact that the NIB's new director, Hara Kazuya, hails from the NPA, may also be seen as consolidating the NPA's dominance over other ministries in the intelligence sphere, propagating interagency competition. Securing sustained public support for the coming changes will also be important given lingering anti-militarist norms in Japan. The reforms are significant in that they establish political control over Japan's intelligence community. But this will require deft political messaging by Takaichi and her government, particularly to assuage any public concerns about surveillance and the accountability of the new framework. The specialized parliamentary oversight committees for the intelligence services in the US and the UK are cited by some as examples of best practice for balancing the needs of national security and civil liberties. Concerns remain about Diet security clearance measures and Diet members' domain expertise. Creating a foreign intelligence service will also require time and increased funding, as well as further cooperation among Japan's existing agencies. In addition, building a fresh strategic culture around the new service will be a long-term project. Boosting Japan's strategic agency. While important in themselves, Japan's intelligence reforms should also be seen in the context of the broader overhaul of defense and security policy and legal frameworks underway since Abe's second administration of 2012-20. Specifically, Takaichi's reforms also build on Japan's broader thinking about the components of comprehensive national power outlined by then Prime Minister Kishida Fumio in the 2022 National Security Strategy, which includes intelligence capabilities as well as the diplomatic, defense, technological, and economic domains. The intelligence reforms also constitute an important effort by Tokyo to take on a greater share of the region's defense, security, and deterrence needs as well as to increase its own strategic agency. Considering the likely upcoming legislature in 2027 and increasing regional tensions, Japan's intelligence capabilities are likely to gather momentum in the coming years, especially given the LDP's unprecedented strength in the Diet.